All right, it's pretty clear that there is no possible context in which I can express myself about films that I haven't finished without people getting very upset about it. So I'm just not gonna do it anymore. I want to make it clear that the only context in which I have done this, regardless of what you might have heard on Twitter, the only times that I've done this have been in the context of larger groups of films. So, for example, for this year's Oscars, I decided I would not only attempt to watch every Best Picture nomination, I would also attempt to watch every single nomination for every category. I was aware before I started this that I would not connect with a lot of these films. They don't stand out as particularly interesting to me. They're not movies that I would seek out otherwise. But I wanted to at least get a tiny taste of each of these films just to satisfy my curiosity and report back my experiences with my audience. It's pretty clear that there's enough of you that do not find that type of experience to be valuable in any way whatsoever, to the point where it becomes offensive for me to mention or include them in my videos. There are some people jumping in on this controversy, saying that this makes me fraudulent in some way. I don't understand that criticism because every single time that I have not finished a movie and talked about it on my channel is one where I've explicitly stated that. There has not been a single time where I've pretended to watch the entirety of a movie that I didn't. That's never happened. And when I do share my experiences about the films that I didn't finish and why I didn't finish them, they've always been very short blurbs in comparison to the longer reviews where I dissect and talk about movies that I've finished and have more to say about. They were never intended to come off as some sort of substitute for a full review. I don't know where people got that impression from. So I thought maybe, okay, I'll just change the title of some of these videos where I'm covering a lot of these films from a film festival or a lot of these films from a category like the Oscar nominations. I'll just change the title from review to reviews and impressions, and that should make it pretty clear that these films that I do talk about that I didn't finish are not reviews, they're impressions. That didn't work. I guess people don't care. Uh, so yeah, I guess I'm just not gonna do it. Uh, it's one of the most bizarre controversies to me. I really don't understand what the issue is because I have never been deceptive about it. I've never been dishonest about it. Uh, I've never pretended to get the full experience of a film by talking about part of it. The type of content that I create is the type of content that I would like seeing from other creators that I watch. As somebody who enjoys red letter media, if they were to ever try to watch every single nominee for every single category and they didn't get through all of them because some of them are not worth getting through in their opinion, I would love to hear about which ones they didn't get through and why. And if they want to give that a number, I'd be like, okay, great. Obviously, that number isn't supposed to reflect the entirety of the film. It's supposed to reflect the amount of the film that I experienced. That is inherent to the fact that I flat out say that I did not experience the entire film. That in of itself should, I would hope, give everybody the all of the necessary information to understand that. But apparently that's not the case, and apparently there's zero way I can possibly express myself about films that I haven't finished. So I'm just not going to do it anymore. You've made yourselves pretty clear here, so I've always considered the content that I put out to be an expression of myself and my experiences with art. Uh, so when I when I put that content out into the world, I guess I sometimes forget that that's not what others see it as. I personally do not see review content as some sort of like objective measurement that people are supposed to adhere to. I don't see it that way. I've always just seen it as someone expressing themselves and their experiences with art. And so that's why I've never really gotten too attached over the idea of like what can be considered a review. Reviews on my channels range from minute-long recommendations where I don't say anything about the film, but I say, like, hey, you should see it. I don't want to spoil it. And here's what I liked about the technical elements, all the way to gigantic multi-hour dissections of films that I've seen multiple times and put dozens upon dozens of hours of research and editing, etc. into. So it shouldn't be a surprise that I've never really had this hardline idea of what a review has to be. And so I'm not attached to the word review, which is why I changed and said, okay, well, I guess these are just impressions. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not attached to it. Like, I don't care. This has always just been about expressing myself. That's all it's ever been. So yeah, regardless of how much of this criticism is genuine, regardless of how much of it is coming from my audience, or if it's just people from, Twitter or wherever, trying to jump in opportunistically because they have beef with, my perspective on other films, and this is just, this is already just enough of a meme at this point that it's like, okay, well, we're jumping on this one. Regardless of that, it's not worth the stress of trying to defend myself every time I do this. And also, I'd like to point out, this is not very representative of my content anyway. The fact that there were 2 videos this month in which there were gigantic like category videos where a good amount of the films I skipped through because they weren't worth finishing to me. That is a very rare occurrence in the first place. And so yeah, I understand that it probably doesn't help that 2 of these videos came out in a row. One of them being after it had already started to be kind of a controversy. The Oscars video that came out most recently is one that I had done the voiceover recordings for like 2 or 3 weeks ago anyway, so that was like pre-controversy, just in case you're wondering. For at-home film festivals, it is very important to skip through movies you're not interested in because there's a limited amount of time to watch everything, and I wind up adding other movies to my schedule in the remaining time that I have after skipping through movies that I know I'm not interested in after watching like however much of. That's how I found my favorite movie of last year, listening to Kenny G. That's exactly how I found it. There was more time left over after having skipped through other films at the festival that I decided, oh, okay, like here's some other films available at this time slot. It's expiring at midnight. Let's just check it out. And I found my favorite movie of last year that way. So it's important for me to, still choose my battles and, abandon things that are clearly not interesting me, right? That's a normal reaction to have to movies. If you don't do that, that's fine. But you should understand why other people do it. You should understand the concept of time and that not everybody has a lot of free time. And although, yes, this is my job, I also have to pick and choose my battles with my job. I would rather be spending more time on interesting movies that appeal to me. I would rather be, freeing up more time to work on larger projects like my Lion King review. Remember, I have a podcast. Remember, I manage like a billion different other channels, remember, I keep myself pretty busy, and I try to be efficient with my time. And if it doesn't, if I'm watching a film that is not captivating me, and I'm doing it in an at-home environment, it's important for me to not finish the film. And yeah, so I guess no one wants to hear about why I didn't finish the film. No one wants to hear about. I mean, not no one, but the vocal group minority, whatever we want to call it. They are very upset at me for doing that, so I'm just not going to do it. It's not worth it. I don't care enough about that to, it. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Honestly, it's the weirdest controversy, and I'm ready to just like drop it and not do it because it's like it. I don't understand why this matters. It's bizarre to me. It's absolutely just. It feels nuts. It's so weird. But whatever. Next year's Oscars, I'm not even going to attempt to watch all the nominees. I knew before I had started many of these movies that I wouldn't really be into them. So I'm not going to kid myself next year and pretend that I can fit all of that into my schedule because I'm still trying to watch movies for my 2016 list. There's so many fucking things that I need to watch. Like even for that, like I've expanded the amount of things that I'm willing to give a chance. Like I'm now including like mini series on my list in the one that I'm making, right? So like I'm going out of my way to seek out as many different films and things that I could possibly engage me as possible. And so yeah, it's very important to me that I choose my battles and that I dip out if something isn't winning me over. I've never considered my number rating to be any kind of review in of itself. I've always considered that to be context for what I have to say about the film, to gauge, on a 1 to 10 scale, how I felt, how I experienced, how my experience that I had with the film. And so I didn't see any issue by assigning a number and saying, okay, here's the numerical rating of my experience. And again, it's only in specific context of at home viewing for like film festivals that are at home, where I'm watching like 30 movies in a week, or recently this the the Oscar nominees, where it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to watch through how many fucking movies were in that? Like fucking 40 movies or some shit. Like, I don't know. It's just you have to have some concept of time and some concept of like how much time something takes and how many movies I watch. Like I go through more movies for my best of the year videos than any other major film YouTuber that I know. Anyway, stay tuned for some videos on the YMS Highlights channel. I had some debates with people over the subject because obviously I'm very passionate about art and expressing experiences with art. So, yeah, those, I guess watch those if you want to hear me delve even further into the subject. But yeah, I guess I'm just not gonna do it anymore. I still don't see the issue with it, but I'm just gonna not do it. So, uh, yeah, I guess that's that. And I surely people will calm down now. All right, everybody, peace.